Session 5. Can you believe it? This is the end. Not, right. I'm sure we'll figure at the end of this session, we'll figure out like, do we want to continue, that kind of thing. I have some ideas about that to keep huddling,
Is
collaboration.
this the last official session?
It is.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. This gets us grounded in that, the platform, the life flight plan. We hit the key areas that we'll go into. So the whole idea is that this is a group that went through a similar experience. And then we can keep building on that, especially as things in the world are moving fast. Everything terrorists and AI and robotics. So we can keep building that kind of stuff. Jerry, welcome back. All right. Okay, so we covered some ground. If I'm gonna do the screen share, put the visuals up, and we're gonna dive into get the money up. How do we get active hours working down? Some people have already done that. I'm taking notes. Okay, screen share. Okay, okay, definitely we're small group. It's best to unmute, interact, bring things up. You're on my side monitor, so if you want to get in and I miss you, you can raise your hand, speak up, do that kind of stuff. But make sure that if you got something you want to think about or share, make sure you do it here. But we covered some ground. We started out, that destination. What's the vivid vision of your future self? And that created some bucket list items. And this is my actual life flight plan. And from that discussion, I literally, hey, I'm gonna block out 1 week per month, schedule trips, go visit the people I care about. And then we went from the vivid vision to household income to freedom levels. Let's define 5 levels of a household income to freedom and generational levels. So now it's a black and white tangible number, right? It's something, if we can see it, feel it, it's easier to figure out the flight plan to get there. And from there, how do we protect what you have? Especially if you're business owners, you have homes, you have assets, things that you care about. How do we protect that? We talked about the legal structure, asset protection, and if you got enough going on, maybe household accounting so that you can see everything, with monthly financials on your different activities. And then we moved over to financial resources, and we intentionally didn't cover things that most people already have their hands around. We identified new areas like the family bank as an option. It's not an either or, it's an and approach, and your other portfolio, like a portfolio, your other investments. We didn't talk much about Bitcoin, so we'll start today by having a discussion about crypto, but for me, it's Bitcoin specifically, and then we'll get into the topic at hand. So now that we have different parts of our flight plan working for us, we're going to come back to, the money's up. How do we get active hours working down? I'm still working, I don't know, 40, 50 hours a week, something like that. And then there's no reason for me to be doing that. Okay. Other than I come from an industrial model, right? I work like a factory worker, punching things out. So if we do that today, we'll cover something about Bitcoin to finish this conversation about financial resources needed, and then talk about, we're actually going to go to the worksheet that I shared with you about some strategies about how to get the time to the level that you want. If we do that, that'd be useful to you? Good stuff, right? And and some of you, like I'm looking at Rob right now, you got your life pretty well worked out. I'm taking notes. Right? Taking notes.
But I like that. That was it. The law of the straight line. Where did that come from? Was it like a Napoleon Hill kind of thing? I don't know where it came from, but it was reasonable. It was nice and simple.
Yeah, it comes from the group. There's a group called Bellwether. It's not a secret group,
Ah, yeah,
but
okay.
but it's a private group. And if you want to learn more, I'll share more about that.
Sure. No, I thought it was nice and succinct, and I saw it made its way into one of the worksheets. I think that the time tab. So
Yeah,
looks good. It's very good.
yeah, and it has that
But
anchor.
you're too much active income, it sounds like right now.
Oh yeah, yeah, pretty much. Yeah, probably only 30% of my income is probably passive at this point, but roughly. I'd like to be 100% or more. I'm working on that part. I mean, literally my frame of reference is, work like a factory worker, and right. So the first mountain was like that. The second mountain's different, more about purpose. Okay. Any thoughts before we dive in? Anybody? Okay. So hey, let's open it up. When if somebody says, I'm going to talk about Bitcoin specifically, you may think about cryptocurrency, which is fine. We can talk about cryptocurrency, but when that topic comes up, I'm really curious as a starting point, what's your reaction to it? What's your reaction? What are your thoughts about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency?
I'll just jump off here. I tend to be a little bit jaded about it just because there's so many people that are promoting it from like a trading perspective. Okay. Um, it's obviously gaining enormous traction. BlackRock is talking about it possibly becoming, I think it's kind of laughable, but maybe it'll happen, like the reserve currency. So,
Yeah.
it's just going through like rotation of maturation, I guess you could say. It's really new. Nobody really knows what it is, can't see it. So it's like this very mercurial thing to me. Okay.
Yeah. Jerry, you're the land guy, so that's like tangible, right?
Yeah.
And, I don't think cryptocurrency is tangible.
No, it's totally untangible. It's just bytes on a disk.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. That good. Good. Let's keep it going. What else do people think about crypto, Bitcoin, any of it?
Well, I could jump in here. I am biased. I don't know if any of you know my husband, Jeff. He's, of course, very passionate about Bitcoin. And in the beginning, I also didn't have a clue what it was about. But through education and learning more about it, I really believe in the power of Bitcoin and what it is going to be for us in the future. It's going to happen in the financial world. So I think there's so many use cases just when it comes to energy and also just the power of Bitcoin throughout the world. So I'm very passionate about Bitcoin.
Yeah, I mean, Jeff's like an all-in liberation guy. This is how you become sovereign, right? I mean, he's all
Yeah.
in.
And it's also through education because a lot of people don't understand what Bitcoin is about. And it's like put in that 100 hours and really like Jeff has an amazing course, Crypto Empowerment, that just helps you sort of realize, opens your eyes and gives you just education, not saying this is a thing. And he doesn't see it as like a trading thing. We hold our Bitcoin. And so I think there's definitely different ways of using Bitcoin and just the use cases in the world and how it can impact like third world countries and helping people in different areas is really profound.
Yeah, it's interesting. What else? What else? Bitcoin, crypto. What else comes to people's mind when that word is thrown out?
I have a couple. I mean, I way back bought probably $100 worth of Bitcoin when it like 2011 or so. I think I sent this to Jeff and told him. And like everybody else at that time, I thought I was going to apply it to some transactions right away, and there was nothing going on. So at the time, none of the exchanges like Coinbase existed. So you literally had to keep like a private thing and a public thing on a hard disk, which is long gone. So I look at it as like, wow, that's a shame. Now I still hold some crypto. Like I know even our financial advisor is 5% of our portfolio is crypto, and it's Bitcoin specifically, just like you're saying. But I also kick myself for having missed I don't know if anybody here has seen Silicon Valley, the TV show, but there's a character in there that they're looking over a dump for a thumb drive that he lost. And I don't know how
Oh
many
yeah.
people have done that. So anyway, that scene can be found on YouTube. Anyway, the thing is that I'm curious, like if Jeff and Siva, if you're so committed to it, and not necessarily as like a trading thing, but like what would you guide somebody to say, like if you were a true believer, like what percentage of your portfolio would you consider risking in something like that? If only talking about it from a distribution perspective and a lack of concentration. So
Well, I think what your financial advisor said, that 5%, that's a
Yeah.
great amount. Like we're not we don't believe that you should have like some crazy amount, like
50%.
50%. No.
Okay.
So, uh, Jeff is more the expert. I could grab him. He's just around in here in the house. But 5% is a pretty common and wise choice, I believe.
Yeah.
Okay. That I'm good to hear because I mean I'm thinking of like Michael Saylor and others that have been
Mhm.
very vocal and visible about their
Yeah.
commitment to it. And a lot of companies, as you point out, are actually starting to make it part of their treasury function to be in Bitcoin. So I'm just curious what kind of guidance you would give an individual. So
Yeah. Yeah. But see, like Michael Saylor's very Bitcoin forward in his company. I'm not sure. And I would also be interested to know in his private portfolio how he has it dispersed. I don't know that. But I know with his company, he's very Bitcoin forward.
Yeah,
So
he has like $35 billion of public company, MicroStrategy, just to fill in the gaps
yeah,
for people. He has like 35 billion, and he's actually been able to increase the value of his company by having Bitcoin. Bitcoin like gold, precious metal, the balance sheet. Most of the companies I deal with are not doing that kind of stuff on their balance sheet, but the bigger companies, it makes sense. Uh,
yeah,
the,
it can really help your company. Like it's very valuable to have it within your company
yeah,
because
Yeah, I
it is a way to hedge against inflation.
perfect.
yeah. It is even for smaller companies. It's a viable option worth finding out. The 5% is probably a pretty good number because on like the big portfolios, the trustee family activities, they I don't know, recommend like up to 5% in precious metal, like at least 3 to 5%, and Bitcoin specifically could play that role, versus taking metals. Hey, Gar, I'm wondering Gar, if you guys have any thoughts. Alexi, Jennifer.
I'm long on Bitcoin. I don't have a ton of it directly. Like Rob, I jumped in with a couple thousand. It's now worth, tens of thousands, but I was had it in Coinbase. I've heard so many stories. In fact, some folks that worked here with millions of dollars on a hard drive that no one can find. But because I was an employee of MicroStrategy, I still have pre-IPO share options that are exercised. So I'm vicariously in Bitcoin through my
Yeah,
MicroStrategy.
yeah,
Kirk, I would throw out coming from as a former FBI agent, we used to work crypto cases all the time. A couple of things to just be reminded of when you're going into crypto, and this is not Bitcoin specific, but just any crypto. Um, it's not FDIC insured, so if you lose it, you lose it. We they talk about things like having your seed words and things like that. So if you misplace that hard drive, like Gar was talking about, you have the ability to recreate the account. Not every virtual currency gives you that capability, but most do. There are a lot out there. There's a lot of folks, a lot of criminal organizations that try and scam people out of their crypto. So especially for elderly folks, we see people getting scammed out of their crypto, and once it gets moved into the account that or to the wallet that they control, there's really not much federal government or law enforcement can do to get it back for you unless it's being, I mean, obviously they're not setting up accounts at the crypto exchanges that work well with the US government. They set up accounts with crypto exchanges that do not work well with the US government, and so you're not going to get that stuff back. There are some other resources out there that you can tap into. I've got some buddies of mine who they were former U.S. Marshals. They're working for a company now called Asset Reality. That's really what they do is help governments to seize and to manage their asset forfeiture for crypto is one of them. The other things that they help with. Um, and then obviously the other big thing is, just being aware. I mean, there's great value in it. Being able to, use it as a commodity or a currency in which you can make money. You can obviously also lose money in it as people, depending on when you bought it and what it's worth now and when you have to sell it. But there's also a lot of criminal organizations that use it to bypass banking regulation, reporting requirements to fence in those types of things. So
Yeah.
there's as with most things, there's good and bad with it.
Yeah, that's a good overview. And the biggest paradigm shift with Bitcoin is, cryptocurrency, but I'm always referring to Bitcoin. It's the only one that's reached a level of acceptance for me, is that security feature, right? Where it's a seed phrase. Even if you set up a certain wallet, you get a seed phrase. Even if that wallet for some reason disappeared, like, the company went bankrupt, out of business, whatever, as long as you have the seed phrase, you can open up another wallet and, get access to it. But the whole trick of keeping the seed phrase confidential, like don't even record it electronically, don't do screenshots. Now you got to have a physical thing you got to secure. That's a new paradigm shift it is for me at least, right? And it's like putting a treasure map. Where do I put it, right? How do I make sure the fire doesn't burn up fire in my home, burn up my treasure map, that kind of stuff. So it's worth kind of. I'm gonna kind of bring it in here. It's worth breaking the ice, like even just $100 to learn the mechanics of buying and selling Bitcoin. You might think other currencies well, but I'm talking about Bitcoin. But then you have, $100 is not financial risk, right? People spend more than that going out to dinner. And then each of us has firsthand experience. Well, what is it to buy Bitcoin and hold it? And how do I secure it? And then with that firsthand experience, by breaking the ice, each person will know what is the right thing for them at the right time. In my case, I was evaluating between precious metals, gold, platinum, that kind of stuff, and Bitcoin. And I chose that. I don't want to deal with, the metals. But if I'm going to own gold, I want to have it in a treasure chest, buried in the backyard. I want to have it tangible kind of stuff, not on some piece of paper somewhere. That's just my own preferences. So I chose Bitcoin, which is that's virtual, right? It goes, some of the things Jerry said is not tangible. So I'm making some trade-offs there. But there's certain things I like about it. I like Bitcoin. I can use it as a currency. I can increase. I'm seeing some B2B activity, where especially international, where things are happening on Bitcoin, especially into unusual markets like Ukraine. I've seen people buy equipment. You can verify the equipment, verify the funds, release it securely, and low cost transfer. So I'm seeing it on that level, B2B. And then when I was in Foley Beach, just before the holidays, I was so shocked at how many like mom and pop retail stores were actively Bitcoin friendly, ATMs, that kind of stuff. On the business side, I'm seeing there's there's not a lot, but there's increased activities to use Bitcoin as a currency. So that's something, to make note of. And then as a store of value on the personal side, for me, something I can, even if it came from my business, somebody pay me in Bitcoin, I'm probably going to transfer it as a distribution to my personal portfolio and hold it. My businesses are operating, like money comes and goes, paying expenses, that kind of stuff. I'm gonna share one more thing. Like before last year, I wasn't. It was before last year, like 2023 would have still been too early for me to do anything with Bitcoin. So I wasn't an early mover like Rob or some of the things that Gar did. It just, for me, like before 2024, Bitcoin just had not reached that level of acceptance. But then in 2024, you start seeing the institutional, no longer the early movers. You start seeing institutional people like BlackRock, the CEO of Finch. He changed his position from don't do crypto to, do Bitcoin for some of the reasons we're talking about, the instability of the U.S. dollar, the political risk, and so that was notable. I started seeing institutions and Morgan Stanley, everybody's buying and holding Bitcoin. They're trading, so there's some of the up and down. And then, so that's 2024. Like, wow, it hit a point for me. I'm pretty conservative on the financial side from a growth CFO kind of thing. So I took the step. And then this year, you see the government, the political areas talking about using 2025 using Bitcoin and other cryptos, but Bitcoin largely as a part of the Federal Reserve, right, to stabilize the dollar. That's a second major source of demand for Bitcoin, which, supply and demand. Supply is fixed at 21 million coins. So when demand increases, from a store value standpoint, you can reasonably expect it's going to hold value or more likely increase value over time, even though it's still very volatile, right? It goes up every day. So all that to say that I encourage people to break the ice, $100, get firsthand experience, and then definitely do it with somebody who has some experience, because it's very easy. There's lots of scams out there, right? Where give me your seed phrase to your wallet. Okay. Right.
Kirk,
Hey, Jeff. How
uh,
you doing?
uh,
Yeah.
hi Kirk, it's Alexei. Sorry
Yeah.
guys, I'm driving. I think it's a big thing for sure. And trading versus holding, that's comparing, long versus someone like me, investing it at the highest mark and then selling it at the lowest mark. I know a lot of people are trading and making some money. I'd be interested in learning what platform or wallet is, or some options are the best to, both trade and hold Bitcoin. Because I did it on Coinbase and they have like huge fees. It just maybe everywhere it's the same, but I'm interested in learning that. And you're right, it's better to do it with someone. It's highly volatile and speculative, but I think it's great idea to have some part of your portfolio invested.
Yeah. It's worth crawl, walk, run for all the things you said. I'm going to tell you what. Jeff is my subject matter expert in this area, so I trust him. We have some history together. I trust him completely. Jeff's the kind of guy that you can go to war with and trust all the way. So for Jeff, I'll let you weigh in. But I'll share what I'm doing. For
Sure.
me, I'm buying crypto on Kraken Pro as a broker, right? And just the Fed's on the line here, like Jody. They can, if you have your Bitcoin at a broker, they the banks, the government can grab it, okay, under certain, I don't know, hopefully legal due process, but that's questionable. Um, so I buy it on Kraken Pro. This is your broker, like Coinbase, and I transfer it to my wallet, which is either Xverse or the Proton has a wallet that's out there. Jeff, do you have any, from a recommendation standpoint, to break the ice? Do you have any recommendations for people?
Sure. Thanks, Kirk. Steve, I came up to grab coffee, and Steve's like, "Kirk's chatting about Bitcoin. You got to jump in and hear this." So I love hearing you talk about it, especially because what was it, a year ago or so? You weren't even really into that. I just would say to the audience that's listening, I can't see how many people are on the call, but this is a game changer for me, and this is what a point that I'd like you to drive home. You need to think of Bitcoin as an invention. It's a protocol. It's not a tech play. It's not a money play. Although it is tech and you can make money with it, but it is a protocol. It's a new invention. When you approach Bitcoin with that lens on, everything else makes way more sense. So you hear people often, they use digital gold, which is great because that's a nice analogy and people wrap their heads around that easily. But it's way more than that. So this is a protocol that's decentralized. So when the internet came out back in the day, I think most of us are probably old enough to remember that, there was also a lot of competing centralized plays that wanted to own the internet. But the internet didn't go that route because being decentralized was better, and it became a brand new protocol that nothing else competes with now. Like there isn't let's go choose, a second internet coin, right? It's the internet is what we use. And now there's different layers built on top of that that could be private or self-contained or whatever, right? Same thing with electricity. You do electricity, it was a protocol that was invented. There's different ways to use that, but the invention is the invention. It's forever changed things. This is Bitcoin. Bitcoin is an invention of a new protocol that is changing how humans exchange their energy and wealth. Like, in other words, it's not just money, although we use cryptocurrency, which makes us think about it like that. It's an actual way of exchanging and storing value that's encrypted, that is available for anybody to participate in. When you come and approach owning, and I'm not talking other cryptos, I'm just talking Bitcoin. When you come and approach Bitcoin with that lens, you will find a lot of shift in your thinking, which then makes you realize why you want to own some of it still, in my opinion, fairly early. Then to address the money side of it, anybody who's owned it for more than 4 years has never lost money. And if you approach with a long-term play, just like you would if you were investing in any other new protocol and you wanted to own a part of the internet or a part of electricity or a part of the invention of fire or the wheel, you would want to hold it and see what type of things are going to get developed on top of that and how that use will be. So that's the approach Steve and I take. And we help people, learn about Bitcoin. We've got Bitcoin mining that we do. So we're running miners, multi-million-dollar operation. We have a lot of different ways that we participate in this network. But it's without a doubt a necessary part of your, I see on the slide, financial resources needed. And if you aren't participating, then by default, unfortunately, you're betting against it. You're betting against this new protocol. You're betting against this invention by not participating. So that's what I wanted to, as I'm grabbing coffee, throw out there. And I don't want to mic drop and walk away, but I'll leave it there.
Yep. And Jeff and I have a WhatsApp group that's dedicated to Bitcoin specifically, not crypto. There's 13,000 different crypto coins. It'd be very easy to lose most of us in any kind of conversation about that. So I'll share the link to the Bitcoin group, and that way it's not active every day, but when there's things moving and happening that are noteworthy, we collaborate, we share information, and the whole idea is that each of us has more information. And in all the groups, the more you participate, the better, right? Everybody's seeing, the world's moving fast. Everyone's seeing different things. So,
yeah, Kirk, I think I'm in your group of this one. So if anybody has anything specific on Bitcoin they want to ask inside of there, they feel it's a little more private or whatever, feel free to just tag me.
Yeah,
Jeff.
Thank you.
Jeff, quick question. Yeah, very quick question. So I saw your course. I'm gonna sign up. And then another question: do you give consultations? Like, if I wanted to just schedule a consultation, what would be the best way to do it?
I don't really, because I don't swap my time for money. Although somebody tempted me last year and offered to pay me in Bitcoin, and I said unexpectedly yes without thinking about it.
I don't have that much money, Jeff.
I typically do JV deals, but what I do is anybody that goes through the course, which is all online now, so they could self-pace, they could do it themselves. That opens them up to a group that we do called Crypto Momentum, which then gives monthly access, group access to me. And, and then we bring in different business opportunities. Like we just did a $4.5 million deal in West Texas with a land play involving data mining, returning us about 3% a month, but everybody's getting paid in Bitcoin. So, that was 100K minimum access to get in, but that's not necessarily, maybe that's high for some people, low for others, I'm not sure, but it's just different opportunities that come up. So that's kind of how I structure it. My recommendation would be the online course that we just released is me teaching it in an effort, and I'm not here to shill a course, sorry, I just, you brought it up, so it's something that allows me to scale my wisdom to other people on their pace, but in a safe way they can learn about the space and get involved.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome. But any other questions, just tag me and Kirk. I'm a huge supporter of Kirk. What he is doing here is brilliant. I'm super glad my wife's involved. And I would, if I've got a lot on my plate right now with some of the expansion we're doing, or I'd be jumping in on this. But I highly recommend anything Kirk's doing that you follow it. And this app that he's built is amazing. I keep hearing about it from Steve. So
Yeah.
Thank you. Well,
Cool,
I
guys.
just don't want to take advantage of Kurt's good nature and your relationship, so that's why I'm asking, for an outside access, and I think the course is great. So thank you.
Yeah, what I can do for you guys, because you're part of Kirk's group, I'll get you the women to wealth pricing that we just did a big project with them, and it'll have their branding on it because it's specific to their members. But as long as you don't mind that it says women to wealth, it's still the same content, and I'll drop it in there and make sure you guys get their pricing.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Jeff, greatly appreciated. And the collaboration is critical in these key areas in the world. And just to let people know, Alexi is a U.S. and international tax expert. So if you got a business doing that kind of stuff, he's somebody worth talking to
Is
to
that
get that
okay?
right.
That's
Right?
good to
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. The group,
Very good to know.
I definitely ask you, like in the groups, share your LinkedIn, share what you're doing, because I happen to know a lot of you really well. And man, you guys are doing something. And that's the whole idea of this, the Life Master Course, 5 sessions, is kind of a gate to get into this more, curated group. And then the Bitcoin group is more open. You can invite people into it. And the AI effectiveness group is open. Lots of people collaborating. Some are subject matter experts. Other people are like me trying to figure out how do we strategically approach this so we're not chasing shiny objects. But the world is more than ever. I mean, there's opportunity for prosperity, and I think we're going into a second renaissance of
Yeah.
what human thriving is, right? What it is to live
Yeah.
and work, redefined in ways that, if for me, if I'm not a little bit nervous, if I'm not feeling like, oh my God, like fear, then I don't get it. We're pack animals, and so we collaborate, help each other. Everyone's seeing, I mean, there's 8 billion people, and they're all seeing this a little bit differently, and some have brilliant insights that could help others. That's what this is about. And so Lexi talked about tapping in, generosity. That's what this is about, real collaboration. I'd rather go in proactively with foresight, with people that I trust and like, than like ad hoc, isolated, try this, try that kind of stuff. And so I really sincerely invite you to share your information, share what you're doing. We're not trying to push products on people. We're just sharing. Okay. Like,
So Kirk, if I
Thanks,
could,
Kirk. Kirk,
yeah,
I've got to run here because I got another call. But anything you need from me before I jump off, and let me just say thanks.
yeah. Thank you, and feel free to post.
Okay,
Okay.
Bitcoin. Think of it as a protocol, everybody.
Yeah.
All right, an invention. Okay.
Thank you.
so
Uh-huh.
I just want to kind of dovetail off what he just said, okay? Because I'm sitting here thinking about it, and I just looked up what the first transaction was for Bitcoin, and that was 99 hundredths of a cent. So if you kind of look at that through the lens of where it's gone now and what it's trading at, that's an 828 million% gain.
Yeah.
Okay. So the question to me is like, so we see this number and it's trading at that, and we look at it through kind of the traditional lens of bid and ask and all this stuff, but it's not the same as to kind of say what follow on what he was just saying. What is the actual upside to this thing? I mean, it could go so high.
Mm-hmm. I mean, there's models that show it at, 500,000 to 1 million per coin. It's all based on demand, right? For me, I'm comfortable for myself. I look at it like right now it's at 80s. Last year at this time was 40, 48. It ended the year 6 figures. It's back to 80, low 80s.
Yeah, very volatile. Yeah,
Right. It's
but
very
it's also very
volatile.
new.
Yep. And so I'm comfortable. I'm thinking a 3x from now. I would not be surprised in the next few
Well, I'm
years.
talking about like 50 years from now.
Yeah, who knows?
What does it look like to own part of a Bitcoin or own Bitcoins?
Yeah.
That may be the one of the main
Yeah. So
kind of
great.
lines in the sand of the haves and have-nots.
So
Okay.
Yeah, and I think I'll just jump in. I think what some people keep themselves out of the game because they think, oh, I can't get one Bitcoin.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
I
Right.
think a
It
big
does.
part is having just part of a Bitcoin. You
That's
don't
right.
have to get one Bitcoin.
Yes.
And of course, Michael Saylor, he's like a Bitcoin maxi, Bitcoin whale. I mean, he throws around numbers like one coin could be 13 million. Who knows
Right.
what if that's true at all, right? And that's of course in the future. But yeah, it's hard to say. Like it's all people putting a number on what it's going to be. That's just all speculation. But there's of course a huge there's a lot of people that believe it's going to be a lot more than it is today.
Yeah.
But no one ever really knows. We'll only be able to look back once it goes up there and go, oh yeah, I
Yeah,
thought about that then.
Right. Because I was just looking back, right? And I'm thinking to myself, this isn't like a traditional commodity, right? I've been trading commodities for a long time, and this is not the like the traditional contract for soybeans or something. This is a frame shift in the way people think about currency.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
So
definitely a shift.
okay, so let's do this. I'm going to drop in the Life group WhatsApp. I'm going to drop the link to join the Bitcoin group, and then also the AI effectiveness group using AI. Let's bring this conversation. Literally, it's a brilliant conversation. Let's bring that into the group. There's expertise there, and we'll collaborate. In part, I want to switch the topics. I want to switch the time. Right, money up. Right, crypto could be. It's not either or. It's and part of your portfolio potentially. But at least create the option so that you're making decisions from a full deck. Okay, but I want to flip over to time because I mean, I don't know. Have you guys ever seen a person that has plenty of money, but they're running themselves ragged, working like a factory worker? Maybe that's me. And man, not good, not healthy, not good. Relationships suffer. Like building a business is tough. So a lot of us, this is definitely me. I sacrificed time with my children when they were growing up. My wife didn't get all the attention she wanted, so I sacrificed relationships. Hey, we're still intact, but man, right? And so a lot of the things that we're talking about, I didn't know back then. I didn't know. Didn't have my head up doing this kind of collaboration. So I've seen people that have like plenty of money, generational money, and whether they don't have time freedom, right? And they are unhealthy. Relationships are suffering, and that kind of stuff. So I'm gonna step on the gas a little bit faster than I would plan to. But I want to at least get the first cut, and then we'll continue beyond these 5 sessions. We'll continue collaborating, and the whole idea, and this is based on the law of the straight line. It's based on data. How do different types of people, like the millionaire versus somebody who's different type of people, somebody in survival mode, starting out, working, professionals, all the way to the millionaire and elite. This is based on data. We'll see the percentages in the next tab. If you don't have this workbook, I loaded it. It's in the original workbook, the Life Flight Plan, with all the household income. There's a tab there for it, and then I uploaded this workbook that's a separate workbook just for this topic, where there's guidance, there's the graph, and then the worksheet we'll go through. If you haven't downloaded it, this is a good time to download it. Right? That way we can, you start keying things in real time. Don't look the perfect answer slow you down. Just do the first cut, do some thinking, and then if it's useful to you, finish the worksheet and figure out exactly what action you're going to take to get the outcomes you want. And this is all in alignment with your vivid vision, that destination where your life is really good, your purpose. You're here for a reason. But what strategy? You got the money up, you're living your purpose, but you're able to you're able to live your purpose, but you liberated time, right? And that's exactly where I'm at. I want to replace myself in sales. But I'll get like 2-3 days a week back into my life, just by that one action. Okay, so we're going to see the percentages, but this shows based on data, and I'm referencing the information that's in that law of was it law of straight line? Is that what it was? My mind's slipping.
It is.
Okay, the law of the straight line. It has that medieval voice to it. Right? Sounds very, very I don't know, stoic. Okay, so the four levels that we're going to look at, stages of life, like survival, professional, millionaire, elite, and it changes. Like, think about when you first started working. My experience was I was literally in Houston, cutting lawns, Domino's Pizza, working at Target. I mean, it was, if I needed more money, I had to work more hours, right? So, all active hours, hands on, me working. That's what the blue is, active hours, okay? And there's a written definition here, but I'm gonna wing it and just to kind of talk through it. Then as time goes on, like in my case, I started a business. You might work in a company and have people who report to you in that company. You might even have interns, right? Where they're trading their time to learn. If you have direct reports, their time to produce an outcome. Or if you own a company, right? You hire employees and contractors. Maybe at this point you get AI agent employees, right? And somehow you're trading, instead of time, you're earning money off other people work, right? They're working, they benefit from their compensation, you benefit from their output. It could be even things like all of you know business people who are great in certain areas. There could be an affiliate program where you introduce two people together. They do work. It could be a land deal, whatever it is, something like that. They do work together, and you get some kind of affiliate program, some kind of revenue share. Okay, that's I have a friend named Amy. Man, she knows everybody. If you want to meet somebody, she's the person to go to. Um, she does that out of the kindness of her heart. She introduces people who end up doing really well together, right? Making a lot of money. And I'm like, Amy, you gotta get yourself, they're making lots of money, sometimes seven figures, millions of dollars. Why aren't you, right, where it's a win-win-win for everybody? Oh, but she's just being nice, right? But that's an asset. She spent years and decades with building relationships, being somebody that they trust, so that she makes introductions. Maybe there's some fall through, but things happen. Okay, is it fair? Does anybody ever do that? To make introductions and somebody makes $1 billion and you're like, anybody ever do that? I mean, 1 billion, not 1 million, right? Okay, hasn't happened to me either, but it could have. It could, but why not? Right? If you're introducing people, win-win. Why not win for you as well? So that's an example of other people, right? Affiliate programs. And then passive income. This is what we've been talking about. It could be you're building your portfolio. It's literally what we talked about on the Freedom platform, right? Could be real estate, public investments, 401ks, private investments, precious metals, crypto, the family bank, right? That's in red because it's something that I got my eyes on. I want to figure it out. I want to do it. So that's all the passive income, right? When you're sleeping, the money's coming in. You just need your CPA to keep track of it for you. Okay? You guys good with the definitions? Working? And this is your life. So if you have a different definition, something that if you customize these definitions to really fit you, what does like passive income mean to you? If there's something very specific that resonates with you, it's aligned with your vivid vision, just change it, right? Across the board. You define this. These are my guidelines, how I'm thinking about it. A lot of it comes from that audio. Okay, and the whole idea is, if you're working 50, 60 hours or more, active hours, hands-on kind of stuff, can I move to the left? Right? Where I'm less hours, more money, right? Where it doesn't require my hands-on. Would that be good? I mean, I'm right there. Starting last week, I limited my time in my office to be no more than 20 hours a week, which is 4 days, 5 hours. Everything else has to be outside somewhere, outside playing.
Just a side comment, Kirk. This is more of like an editorial comment. I think you had under the active income, you said W-2 and 1099. I think that is probably confusing because passive income gives you 1099s too. I think just to note that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So if I'm thinking like if I'm the contractor, I'm the 1099 doing the work.
Oh, I understand. But when you get your just trading statements or your portfolio statements, you get 1099s at the end of the year for them too, to account for what your investments have made.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I just think it's a source of confusion for somebody looking at it.
yeah, that's a good idea. I'll make a note here and come back to it, not to confuse with the tax documents. I'll have to come to Alexi for that. All right. Let me tell you something that I don't enjoy doing. Oh, taxes. Woo. Right. I can't, compliance, strategy, all that kind of stuff. So, and Manny has some tax strategy. Okay, let's go. We've got we do have a hard landing because I still get to teach at Georgetown, so I'm gonna do that. So just before one, so we got about 13 minutes. Okay, the method and follow along with the bounce the ball, do it real time, and don't worry about the perfect answer. Just get familiar with the mechanics. The whole idea is we're going to move from wherever we're at. You might be on the first tier. You might be like first tier being survival. You might be professional, millionaire, something like that, elite. And the whole idea is we want to kind of move across the value chain to where more money is coming from passive sources, including affiliate programs, other people's work, where you get less hours, where you're doing whatever it is that you do. And if I followed mine, I mean, maybe at an earlier part of my life, I don't know about you, but I had a period of my life where I was sleeping like 3 to 4 hours a night. The first mountain when I was raising my kids, and I was cranking. I was sleeping on Saturday and Sunday. But during the week, I was going, and sometimes working 6, 7 days. Like Gar, you and I talked about as a business owner, not working on Sundays, right? There's always a demand coming into it. But I could easily say when I was in that survival mode at 60 hours, can anybody relate to that? Kind of maybe there now, something like that. And in this, they're all active hours, right? All hands on. But before we go too far in the first category, kind of depending on where you're at, you might be on the second, third stage, whatever it is. Put how many hours you're working as the baseline, and then if there's one thing consistent about me, I start with the end in mind, destination.
There's another editorial comment that C8 looks like it's not right. It's showing a 40% for total hours, but it should be 100% too, just like everything else.
Yeah, it should. Wonder why. Oh yeah, it's hard coded in there right somehow. Yeah, that's a good fix. When I was testing, I must have hard coded something. Make sure on the C8. Thank you, Rob. Rob's an engineer, tech engineer, if you don't know. Got the details. Okay, so this is a real thing. I'm not 60 hours now, but I'll put it as a starting point. But I wouldn't mind getting to the point where I'm 15 hours a week, where it's hands-on, active, and the rest I'm meeting with people like you, talking, collaborating, that kind of stuff. I'm gonna say in a recreational setting, not in a Zoom call setting. Okay, that's what I want. That's my vivid vision. You can't take it from me. Okay, Guard, I see your hand go up. Are you good? Anything?
I'm good. I might have been scratching my head.
Okay. All right. And then the kind of stepping stones. If I want to go from 60 hours a week down to 15, I mean, shoot, just getting down to a regular work week. A regular work week for a business owner is at least 10 hours a day. Is that fair? Right? To maybe, I don't know, 25, right? Some kind of hitting the endpoints on hours. And you can see it could correlate the matching on household income. You can see the same terminology we use, the five levels: security, vitality, freedom. Then we had absolute freedom. I put freedom with fewer hours and generational. So there's a correlation with the worksheet. I want to stay focused on use of time. Okay, so you put in weekly how much hours, and it calculates the monthly amount, but most people think weekly. How much do you work? Are you guys with it so far? You okay? So and then your allocation might be different. These allocations match what's in the graph. The graph is based on data. How, in general, how do people who've achieved these levels of outcomes, how do they use their time? Like survival's all active hours, then professional. These starting percentages track that, right? Maybe with some modification. You might be thinking differently. For you at this stage, instead of 70-30, it might be 60-35, right? So, it's your life. You can calibrate things so it matches up perfectly. You know where to take the next action, right? In this example, it would be, 60% of my time, 30 hours a week are active hours working, 18 hours other people's work. Again, interns, employees, affiliate programs. I'm putting in 18 hours to get those outcomes. And then passive, I'm managing my Bitcoin. I'm just all day long counting Bitcoin, right? If only it was tangible. Okay, so you're playing around with these two things to figure out how you're using your time. You're giving yourselves guardrails. This is what I'm going to do. Okay, and all the way through that type of logic.
What's tough on this is again, just as a consumer of it, and it made sense listening to the audio thing, which is only 13 minutes long. If people haven't heard it, that's worth hearing. But I look at it more as like the 5, 7, 6 and 7, 11, 12, 13, 17, 18, 19, those three groups of active, other, and passive. It just moves from being completely active income to hopefully toward the back end. I think in the audio it said 5% of your time is active, maybe at the end, at the top level. But the key thing is you have it zero, and it's moving more and more toward passive income. I don't know if that equates directly to hours worked in a week. That's the only thing, because you don't necessarily sit and spend 30 hours on a given week studying your portfolio or messing with any of your passive income sources. But what it does show is in that given week, 65% or whatever you've targeted of the incoming wealth is coming from that source versus your labor time, your factory time, right,
Yeah.
that you described. And so it's kind of tough to look at it and say, oh, I'm going to be a 60-hour week guy, and I'm not going to spread my hours over to here to passive. I don't expect to see the hours flow that way, but I do expect to see the source of wealth shifting to those other things. But I don't necessarily want to just trade hours with I'm making money because of my individual time, and then I'm still wasting all my time screwing around with looking at my books. That I just think what you want to find is active goes to zero. Other people can stay wherever it is, but passive is the key goal, being higher and higher, so that you're free to do other things. So that's all. I don't know if I'm explaining myself well, but I don't see them being all directly related. So.
Yeah. You definitely got to customize it for yourself, like what total hours you want to work and how you want to allocate that. And just to point out, like passive income. I mean, if I had all my, I should never say all, but if I had a big part of my passive income coming from private investments, I probably got more active hours than that. I'm probably talking to people. I might be going to board meetings, right? Versus if you're doing something else, if you all public markets, you're probably doing a lot less kind of, I don't know, involvement than if it's private. So, so I do think your thinking is right. Like this is not a black and white rule. None of this. You got to kind of figure out, based on your approach to, in this example, financial resources needed, then kind of calibrate where you want to land for your life. So you're creating guardrails for yourself. I mean, I might be like in my case, I'm somewhere between this stage and this stage. So I create some guardrails. How do I want to use my time? And then come and find strategies to
Okay.
whatever, take the next step. And yours could be different. Like again, if I had all private company investments, I'm probably going to be, my active hours will be higher. But I might like that. I might like going out to West Texas and looking at stuff and that kind of thing, right? I mean, better than sitting home playing video games. Sometimes I like video games too. Okay, and I'm going to bring it into for a landing here. These are just examples, like we find it with business owners, like do the pie chart. How are you using time versus how do you want to use your time? Going back to the guardrails, right? 80/20 analysis. A lot, I don't have time to unpack this. We'll come back to it in our ongoing collaboration. 80% of activities are produced by 80% of the outcomes are produced by 20% of activities, something like that, disproportional. So you can literally stop doing the things that are not producing, do more of what's producing, and that's a way of getting, just doing the analysis where you can see it. And we'll come back to some of these. I'm not gonna be able to do justice beyond what we're doing now. So let's kind of bring it in for a landing here. I'll put other videos out besides this recording. I'll put other videos about these different areas so we can go deeper. But the whole idea is you customize it, you find a strategy. If you're taking action, you can bring it into your project management. Whatever it is. Lots of tax details now. You'll like that, Alexi. But if you're taking whatever you're doing, if you're taking a certain action, make a task, and then if you're using the Freedom platform, it shows up in your dashboard, when you decide you're going to take certain actions, and you do it, right? So you get the follow through. That's how you connect from strategy to bring it into your life dashboard and get the follow through. Okay, hey, for follow up, I wanted to do more of a discussion, but can't do that because of the time limits. I'm thinking we could do an open discussion session where we could have a topic and we open discussion. We could do it every other month or once a quarter. And then if you're available, you come in. If you're not available, you don't come in. And in certain time we could have special topics. It could be the time. It could be, hey, how do you use AI in your company? It could be whatever it is. Would something like that be useful to you? Just kind of, I don't know, call it open house, open discussion. Do that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, sounds great.
Okay, we'll do that. I'm going to update it. I'm thinking every other month is better than
Yeah.
every 3 months. Is that cool? Because 3 months
Every
is like
quarter is a little bit too far out. Every month is a little bit never, just got a lot of stuff going on as everybody else does. So
okay. So I'll bring that. I'll update the calendar. I'll add you guys. We'll keep going. We have the WhatsApp group for daily, weekly collaboration. Something happening, share, get to know people. And then the platform roadmap, I'll share that with you. Some things are being developed on the platform where AIs be built in, that kind of stuff. But I'll share that in a different discussion. So for now, we're going to go in for a quick landing. Air Force pilots land like this. Navy pilots land like this. Right? What's that?
call the ball.
I couldn't hear you, Jerry.
Call the ball.
What's that? You hit it? The fall?
No, when you're landing on an aircraft carrier, you got the meatball. You got to call the ball.
Yeah, that's news to me. I just know they land really hard. I landed on an aircraft carrier one time, still got hemorrhoids. Right? Hey, thank you. Let's keep the journey going, and I'll see you soon.
Thanks, Kirk.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Kirk.
See you soon.